and Photography book series published by the University of Texas Press. With us tonight from Texas State University are President Denise Trouth. Yes. Dr. Van Wyatt, Vice President of Information Technology. Joan Heath, Associate Vice President of the University Library. I'd like to recognize and acknowledge our founding donors, Bill and Sally Wittliff. With us tonight from UT Press is Teresa May, Editor-in-Chief. Our event tonight would not be possible without our partner sponsor, Susan Cruz Bailey. Thank you, Susan. I would like to thank Bill Wittliff and Kate Breakey for their collaboration on this exhibition. And I'd like to thank John Scott, our framer, and the entire Wittliff Collections staff and our student workers. In 2001, we published Kate's first book of photographs with UT Press called Small Deaths, and it featured an essay by noted critic A.D. Coleman. He is here with us tonight to introduce Kate. Mr. Coleman has published several books of his essays, including Light Readings and the Digital Evolution. His website and blog is photocritic.com. Please join me in welcoming A.D. Coleman.
Good evening, and thank you for that introduction. Thank you for the applause, and I want to thank Bill and Kate and Carla and the people here at the Wittliff Collection for bringing me out for this event. It's my first time here at the collection, not my first time in Texas by any means, but the space is beautiful, the installation is beautiful, and I have to think that the level of support that this represents for an artist at mid-career like Kate must be astonishing to experience from within as the recipient of it, and is a remarkable model that I hope will be replicated elsewhere for other artists who have accomplished a great deal but aren't yet senior figures. It's just fantastic. So congratulations to you, Kate, and congratulations to you, Bill and Sally, for making this available to living, working artists who are at the height of their powers. Yeah. Which also includes Bill, who was saying to me and Terry Etherton tonight, I'm still young. So, and I know that feeling. I'm still young too. If you want to know what I think as a critic about Kate's work, you could read my essay in Small Deaths, which still pretty much holds true. You know, although there's been a lot of work that she's made since then. I thought I would tell you just more conversationally and anecdotally about my first encounter with Kate's work and with Kate and Paul Krieg, her husband. And then a more recent experience with them. And the first encounter was in 1998 at Houston Photo Fest, and I'm sure many, if not all, of the people here have been to Photo Fest. And what you may not know if you've gone there just as photographers or if you've just gone there as image lookers is that Photo Fest invites in a whole bunch of Photo World and Art World VIPs every time to review portfolios, as well as international art and photo press. And in the afternoons, after the portfolio reviews are finished, they tour them around to the various exhibitions that PhotoFest has sponsored all over Houston. And PhotoFest all along, ever since it started in 1986, I think it was, has used a lot of the venues in downtown Houston, a lot of empty and unused storefronts and other spaces in downtown, as well as corporate building lobbies and occupied spaces to showcase work for the run of the festival. So I remember being on one of these tour buses with a cluster of my colleagues, and it was probably about 5:30, I guess, late February, early March in Houston. So you had this sort of glowing afternoon raking light, and this bus pulled up to a corner. I can't remember exactly where in downtown, but we pulled up to this corner. I wasn't familiar with Kate's work at this point, and there were these prints in the front windows of an abandoned storefront. My impression, my memory tells me they were 6 feet tall, Kate. That can't have been right? But they're what? They're back there? Okay, well, they looked about, see, they were just glowing, right? The sun was just right? They were just hitting these prints. The colors were just gorgeous and saturated, and that was the impression in some ways that has stuck in my mind about Kate's work ever since. Not just the color, but the power of those images. I must have been 100, 150 feet away from them, and they still read very clearly. And so that was a very, very powerful first impression. And I'm surprised to learn that they're as small in a sense as they were, because in my memory they're still probably about 6 feet tall. Anyhow, so as a result of being there, I was there as a journalist, not as a portfolio reviewer. I got to meet Kate a bit, although she was very much being surrounded by new admirers. I think you were just sort of really coming out at that point. I think that was sort of your big breakthrough. And meeting Paul, and we got to chat a bit, and you have to understand, Paul, you may or may not know, is in a whole other world. Paul's a microbiologist. And so if they go together to microbiology conferences, Kate is, of course, the, Paul's eye candy, right? And conversely, if they go to a photo event, Paul is the dumb blonde on her arm. The trophy husband. So, so I chatted a little bit with Paul and got to see him, and he knows a bit about photography because he's been around Kate all these years, of course, but it isn't his discipline. Well, PhotoFest attracts aspiring photographers from all over the world, and they register for these portfolio reviews. And some of them can't get in because the registration gets closed, but they come anyway in the hope that somehow someone will look at their work. PhotoFest at that point was holding the portfolio reviews in the Rice University Student Center, and right down the hallway from the big room where they had the table set up with the official reviewers, there was this little alcove with banquettes and coffee tables that I called the Salon des Exclusés, because the people who couldn't get into the portfolio reviews would hang out there and put their portfolios out and try to drag people like me in to look at their work if we had a spare moment. So one afternoon I was passing by, and there was this big crowd in the Salon des Exclusés clustered around some portfolio. So I went in just to see what was happening, and it was Paul reviewing portfolios. And I guess people would figure, well, he's connected to Kate Breakey, and she's hot, so he must know something. And they had dragged him in, and so there he was reviewing portfolios. So I listened for a couple of minutes, and he had some astute things to say. So I leaned over and whispered in his ear, "You're a quick study, fella," and left. And I guess there's a kind of sense to that. It's probably some kind of lingering maternal advice that kicked in there. If the microbiology thing doesn't work out, he'll have portfolio reviewing to fall back on. So we've crossed paths a little bit from time to time since then, but never really had a chance to spend real time together. But I've been curating shows in Beijing, China for the last couple of years, and curated some of Kate's work into a group show of 4 people in Beijing about a year ago, a show called Light Quartet, and you can see the little catalog for it in the book collection, the book vitrine out here. And putting together 4 people who work with some very interesting different processes that I thought would be useful for Chinese people to see as they get an introduction to Western photography. So this was Kate, Connie and Bowden, Jerry Spagnoli, a daguerreotypist, and Robert Stivers, who some of you may know from Santa Fe. And we got to invite them, all of them, over to a festival in the south of China in a city called Dali, an old historic city, this past summer. And Robert Stivers couldn't make it. The other three made it, and Arno Minkinen, who some of you may know, the Finnish-American photographer, also came along. So there were about eight or nine of us all together, including my wife, Anna. And they were in this historic city. None of these other folks, well, Arno had been to China once, and his wife Sandy, but none of the other folks had been to China before. So I have to tell you, they were very good travelers, all of them, Kate and Paul certainly included. And I want to say particularly about Kate, because she's going to talk, or does talk. She gave a very eloquent presentation, by the way, about her own work to the Chinese audience. But you know, we talk about reverence for life and all of that. And yet, one afternoon, I think it was maybe after she gave her talk, or after one of us gave a talk, we went out to have some beer and snacks by the river. There's a little river in the town that flows down to the lake, and you can actually sit by the stream, sort of, in a cafe and nosh on things. So we ordered off the menu of snacks, and this included spicy chicken feet and fried crickets. And you know, Kate and I, we really got into the chicken feet and the fried crickets. I'd say more than any of them. And 2 nights later, we were at a banquet where there were more crickets, and we had actually by then become cricket connoisseurs, and we're saying things like, no, these don't have enough snap. I like my crickets much more crunchy than this. So anyhow, I think that's really what I want to say. That her work has been very well received in China, at the festival in Beijing. It's well received everywhere, and I think it's because the work is solid and durable, and it touches something very deep in people across cultures, as well as within our own culture. So I think without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Kate. Is you next here? Yes.
Thank you very much for coming, and thank you, Alan. And just let me get set up here. Hope I can get it all to work. Oh, just advance. Oh, okay. So, first of all, the only reason Alan Coleman is actually here tonight is because he knows I have all these compromising photographs. So here he is with the Chinese equivalent of Playboy bunnies in Dali, having a fine old time. They're about 2 feet bigger than he is, of course, and very lovely and shy. And here he is carousing drunkenly with all these wonderful ethnic Chinese who had some kind of drinking game we didn't understand, but were perfectly happy to participate with. And just to prove to you, here we are eating our chicken feet. I think they were fried, actually, fried chicken feet. I actually tasted the boiled ones, and oh. Anyway, we're showing off. I was showing off. Many of you know, of course, that I'm from Australia, from there. And I actually did this for my Chinese audience so that, you know, they could see. And also many of you know that I'm a bit of a show-off, and I've always been a bit of a show-off, and I'm still doing this kind of thing, of course. I think I was like 6, and that's a very deadly brown snake, but it is dead.